Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It's Thursday morning, the 18th of April. And taking a little break from the Sebastian Rogers case today because there's new information in the Bryan Kohberger case. I'm sure you'll remember that Bryan Kohberger was arrested in late December of 2022, just a few weeks after he allegedly stabbed to death 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee Gonzalez, Maddie Morgan, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle. Horrific event that took place in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022. And Bryan Kohberger has been living it large in Latah County Jail over there in Moscow, Idaho. Having a nice old time. TV in his cell, vegan meals. Sounds great. Bryan Kohberger, a while ago now, stated that he got an alibi because he likes to go out driving at night. So that was kind of his alibi. However, some documentation has come out, just a couple of pages, we're going to read it, firming up this alibi. So we're going to take a look. Let's go. Okay, so a lot of money going into Bryan Kohberger's defence, and rightly so. He's constitutionally innocent until proven guilty in a court of law and all the evidence assessed by a jury of his peers. Right? Until that day where he's found guilty by a jury, he's an innocent man. Constitutionally, I believe factually he's guilty. I think they've got the right man. I've said that all along, and nothing I've seen so far from the defence team has changed my mind. So that's just where I'm at the moment with the case. The defence team, you know, there's a big team of them, public defenders, and they've got all sorts of experts, all sorts. Rightly so. I'm glad that even though I believe that Bryan Kohberger is factually guilty, I'm glad he's getting a rigorous defence. It's only right. Unlike over in Indiana, where Richard Allen, who has been in a maximum security prison, treated horribly. The majority of the expense that is defence, you know, the experts they want to call and stuff, has been denied. So the two cases are in stark contrast. But I digress. This is the document here. Comes now Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorney of record, Ann C. Taylor, public defender, hereby files a supplemental response to the demand for alibi, and in compliance with Idaho Code 19519 and Idaho Criminal Rule 12.1. Mr. Kohberger moved to Pullman, Washington in June of 2022. As an avid runner and hiker, he explored many areas of the Palouse. Of note, he explored Wawawai, is that how we say that? Park in July of 2022, and this became a favourite location. After the school year began, if you remember, Bryan Kohberger moved from his home state of Pennsylvania over to Washington, just over the state line, Pullman, Washington. He was studying for a PhD at Washington State University. Been fired as a teaching assistant. Anyhow, after the school year began, Mr. Kohberger was busy with classes and work at Washington State University, and his running and hiking decreased, but did not stop. Instead, his nighttime drives increased. Okay, so he liked to go out driving at night. Did he like to go out driving, you know, down the road to Moscow, Idaho, to spy on university students, you know, looking for potential victims? We can only speculate on that at the moment, can't we? Instead, his nighttime drives increased. This is supported by data from Mr. Kohberger's phone, showing him in the countryside late at night and or early morning on several occasions. The phone data includes numerous photographs taken on several different late evenings and early mornings, including in November, depicting the night sky. Let's have a look at his photos. Mr. Kohberger was out driving. Well, we know he was out driving. We know exactly where he was. We know exactly where he was in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, as he often did to hike and run and or see the moon and stars. So the moon and stars are his alibi. That's the best alibi ever. He drove throughout the area south of Pullman, Washington, west of Moscow, Idaho, including Wawawai Park. Okay, well, I think that place needs to be searched. Partial corroboration. Mr. Kohberger intends to offer testimony of Cy Ray, CSLI expert. I don't know what CSLI stands for, but cell tower, cell phone, and other radio frequency. Curricula vitae is attached of Cy Ray to show that Bryan Kohberger's mobile device was south of Pullman, Washington, and west of Moscow on November 13th, 2022. We know it was. We know exactly where it was. I'm going to show you what we know so far from the PCA, just as a reminder. We know where it was. We know exactly where it was. But what time was that? Give us the time that Cy Ray says Bryan Kohberger's mobile device was south of Pullman and west of Moscow. Because the time we're interested in is from like 4 a.m. to like 4:25, when his car, the Elantra, is spotted on CCTV doing all that strange manoeuvring. So we don't know what time Cy Ray is putting his mobile device, which was turned off over the time of the murders. So Cy Ray can't give us that. Can he? Can they? No. Okay. Bryan Kohberger's mobile device did not travel east on the Moscow-Pullman highway in the early morning hours of November 13th, and thus could not be the vehicle captured on video along the Moscow-Pullman highway near Floyd's cannabis shop. Well, Floyd's cannabis shop has never been mentioned, and with no time, that's a bit of subterfuge, because you're disputing something, you're denying something that's never been said. Additional information as to Mr. Kohberger's whereabouts as the early morning hours progressed, including additional analysis by Mr. Ray, will be provided once the state provides discovery requested and now subject to an upcoming motion to compel. So you can have more when you do what we want. All right, okay. If not disclosed, Mr. Ray's testimony will also reveal that critical exculpatory evidence further corroborating Mr. Kohberger's alibi was either not preserved or has been withheld. Ooh, so they're claiming that there is potential exculpatory evidence that has been lost, or has been withheld. Dun, dun, dun. Well, that remains to be seen, doesn't it? But this is what is being alleged in the PCA. We've read this numerous times. Law enforcement officers provided video footage of suspect vehicle 1, the white Elantra, to forensic examiners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation that regularly utilise surveillance footage to identify the year make. So that was how it was identified. After reviewing the numerous observations of suspect vehicle 1, none of which is near Floyd's cannabis shop, wherever that is, investigators were given access to video footage on the Washington State University campus located in Pullman, Washington. A review of that video indicated that approximately 2:44, so they've got the times in, on November 13th, the white sedan, which was consistent with the description of the white Elantra, was observed on WSU surveillance cameras travelling north on Southeast Nevada Street at Northeast Stadium Way. So this is in Washington, here, Pullman, Washington. At approximately 2:53, a white sedan, which is consistent with the description of the white Elantra, was observed travelling southeast on Nevada Street in Pullman towards SR 70. Which connects Pullman, Washington to Moscow, Idaho. So 2:53. So is that the place that they're disputing? Don't know. because you don't have a time in your document, and you don't have a time in your document. This camera footage from Pullman was provided to the same FBI forensic examiner who identified the vehicle. Approximately 5:25 a.m, a white sedan, which was consistent with the description of suspect vehicle 1, was observed on 5 cameras, so coming back. So the defence don't appear to be disputing any of this, just that it wasn't the vehicle near Floyd's cannabis shop. Okay, cool. But what about his phone? So on December 23rd, this affiant here applied for and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th and November 14th. So pursuant to that search warrant, they were able to give the following information. On November 13th at 2:42, the phone utilised cellular resources, 1630 North East Valley Road. So this all shows a consistent pattern to where the white Elantra, so it corroborates the white Elantra travelling along with Bryan Kohberger's phone. 2:47, utilised cellular resources that provide coverage southeast of the Kohberger residence, so as it was travelling through Pullman. 2:47, stopped reporting to the network, which is consistent with either the phone being in an area without cellular coverage or it was turned off. And then at 4:48, it was turned back on again. All right, cool. All right, so if he was out driving, did he turn his phone off or what? Or did he turn his phone off so that it wouldn't be trackable when he went committing a quadruple homicide? Just saying. So it utilised cellular resources that provide coverage to Idaho State 95, south of Moscow near Blaine. Between 4:50 and 5:26, the phone utilises cellular resources that are consistent with the phone travelling south on Idaho State 95 to Genesee and then travelling west to Uniontown and then north back into Pullman. Approximately 5:30, the phone utilises resources that provide coverage to Pullman and consistent with the phone travelling back to the Kohberger residence. So as the white Elantra is moving, that phone is taking the same path through Pullman. Okay. And not caught on cameras south of Moscow and loop down, that big loop down. But as the phone was turned back on, it shows that Kohberger was out driving. I'd be interested to know if the defence can show exactly where Kohberger was at the time of the murders. Because if that is proven, at least his phone was on and somewhere else at the time of the murders, well, that would be good evidence, circumstantial, but still good evidence that maybe he wasn't there. But that doesn't appear to be what this alibi is giving us. So the moon and the stars, no. Not an alibi at all, really, is it? No. Okay. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
Noodle.